If you really zoom out and look at this summer's transfer picture, it feels like we're watching a fascinating Manchester derby unfold, not on the pitch, but right in the middle of the midfield market. According to Fabrizio Romano's latest updates, both Manchester United and Manchester City are preparing to bring in one, possibly even two midfielders this summer. And what makes it even more interesting is that their shortlists are starting to overlap in a big way. On City's side, the standout name right now is Elliot Anderson. This is not a random link. City are clearly entering the next phase of their midfield rebuild, where questions around age profile, physical load, and long-term depth are becoming more and more important. Anderson fits the Pep Guardiola blueprint almost perfectly. High energy, high intensity, strong ball carrying, and perhaps most importantly, already proven in the Premier League environment. Based on multiple reports relayed by Romano, City are currently leading the race for Anderson, even though nothing has been agreed yet. That tells you they are the more proactive side at the moment, but it also means the situation is still wide open. For City, this feels less like a short-term fix and more like a succession move. A midfielder who can help now, but also grow into a bigger role over the next few years. Meanwhile, over at Manchester United, the spotlight seems to be leaning more heavily towards Sandro Tonali, and just hearing that name immediately raises the level of ambition. Tonali is not simply a defensive midfielder or a ball winner, he is the kind of player who can elevate an entire midfield structure. His ball recovery, transitional awareness, long passing range, switch play, and ability to control the rhythm of a game all stand out at a very high level. Internally, United are believed to be huge admirers of Tonali's profile, especially considering their need for a high-level partner next to Kobbie Mainoo, while also gradually planning for life beyond Casemiro's current role in the squad. The biggest problem, however, is obvious. Newcastle United have absolutely no intention of letting him go cheaply. The numbers being discussed for Tonali are reportedly in the 90 million to 100 million euro range, which instantly turns this into both a sporting and financial challenge. But here is where it gets even more interesting. City are not completely out of the Tonali conversation either. They are also keeping a very close eye on the Italian midfielder's situation, and that is what truly turns this into a proper market battle. One side seems to prefer Anderson but still keeps Tonali in view. The other sees Tonali as the major target but cannot completely ignore Anderson if the market shifts. That overlap is exactly what could transform this summer into a genuine chess match between two of the smartest recruitment departments in England. This is no longer just about who signs a midfielder, it is about who makes the first move, and whether the other side is forced to take what remains. From a tactical point of view, I actually think Anderson fits Manchester City better, while Sandro Tonali feels like a more natural fit for Manchester United. Anderson is the kind of midfielder Pep Guardiola can still refine and develop into an incredibly versatile piece within his system. He already has the energy, intensity, and ball-carrying ability that City value so highly. But under Pep, he could evolve into something even more complete. Tonali, on the other hand, feels more like a ceiling-raising signing for United, the type of transfer that could genuinely reshape the look and balance of their midfield. So in short, this is not just about who signs whom, it is really about which club is building the better midfield future over the next 3 to 5 years, and there is a very real chance that whoever wins this midfield battle could carry a major advantage into next season. Now, let's focus specifically on Manchester United, because they are clearly the club with the more urgent and obvious need in midfield. Realistically, if conditions were perfect, United would not want just one of these players. In an ideal scenario, I genuinely believe they would love to bring in both Tonali and Anderson, but that is probably the dream version on paper. In reality, they will most likely only be able to land one of the two at most, simply because both players are heavily in demand, not only in the Premier League, but across Europe as a whole. When you look at United's transfer priorities for next season, it becomes clear that they do not just need one midfielder. There is a strong possibility they need to add 2, maybe even 3 central midfielders, especially with questions surrounding the long-term future of Casemiro and the overall depth still lacking in that area. The issue, of course, is price. From everything being discussed in the market right now, each of these names could realistically start at 70 million euros and above. That sounds huge, but in the context of today's market, it is not completely unreasonable. In Anderson's case, with how highly rated he currently is, some reports are even pushing the idea that his valuation could approach 100 million euros. And honestly, when you consider how rare it is to find a modern box-to-box midfielder who can operate at high intensity and is already proven in the Premier League, that kind of price tag does not feel impossible. As for Tonali, I do not expect him to be much cheaper. There is a strong chance Newcastle United would only even entertain discussions in the 70 million euros to 85 million euros range, possibly higher. A huge plus in Tonali's case is his experience at the highest level, Champions League football, Premier League football, and the kind of big game exposure that United's board are known to value highly compared to midfielders currently playing outside England. Next season, United will likely still have a budget to strengthen midfield, but clearly they do not have the same financial freedom as clubs that have been consistently in the Champions League for several years. That is why I think one of the more realistic routes is to place Tonali at the center of their plans, while also looking at a second option that is slightly more manageable financially. One name that has recently been mentioned by the media is Carlos Baleba. Even though the Cameroonian midfielder has not had his best season and has looked below his usual level at times, it would be unfair to define an entire player by one difficult year. Sometimes it is simply a temporary dip. If the opportunity presents itself, United could absolutely look at Baleba in the 55 million to 60 million euro range, maybe even lower with the right negotiations. That is a far more reasonable figure, especially given that midfield will not be their only priority. After that, United will almost certainly still need to sign a left winger, and that is another major financial commitment. So from a squad building and budget balancing perspective, it makes sense that they may lean toward solutions that offer stronger value. This becomes even more logical when you consider that City appear to have a clearer preference for Anderson. Not only that, but there are also growing suggestions that Anderson himself is very attracted to City, and especially to the prospect of working under Guardiola. For City, money is not likely to be the biggest obstacle. Even in a season with ups and downs, they still have silverware, and they are still in the Champions League. Because of that, 100 million euros for Anderson, if they truly decide he is the priority, probably would not be seen as an impossible fee, but that is still not the full story. Because beyond United and City, there are still other clubs who could easily step into this double race. And that is exactly what makes this summer's midfield market so unpredictable. The wider context. There is another really important angle to this story, and that is the fact that Arsenal and Chelsea are almost certainly not going to let this race remain a straight Manchester battle. You could jokingly call them the disruptors pour l'Est, but that is not entirely fair either. The transfer window has not even officially opened yet, and at this stage, every major club has every right to step in if the right opportunity appears. The key point is that both Arsenal and Chelsea, even if their need for a central midfielder is not as urgent or as survival-driven as it is for Manchester United or Manchester City, still have very valid reasons to place Sandro Tonali and Elliot Anderson on their shortlist. For Arsenal, most of the current noise is still centered around interest in Tonali, and this is not coming from nowhere. From a tactical point of view, it makes perfect sense. Mikel Arteta's side always prioritize a midfield capable of controlling games, dictating tempo, and circulating possession at a high level. Seen through that lens, Tonali feels like a natural fit for Arsenal's style. He is intelligent, composed, capable of dropping deep to initiate build-up, but still energetic enough to press aggressively and make late runs into advanced areas.